Getting out of debt is one of the biggest lifestyle disruptions that you'll ever experience. And that's because you're not just changing your finances, you're changing your relationships, your habits, your identity. You're even changing the way you experience everyday life. But most people think that getting out of debt is all about just making a budget, cutting a few expenses, staying disciplined, and eventually you're done. But that's not how it actually works, because if paying off debt was just about math, then almost everybody would be debt-free. The truth is, the hardest part of the debt-free journey has very little to do with money. It instead has everything to do with pressure. We're talking about the pressure of watching everyone around you keep living the lifestyle that you're trying to leave behind. And here's what makes it so dangerous. These pressures rarely show up all at once. They instead show up in small moments every day. A dinner invitation, a weekend trip, a new car that your coworker just bought, a spouse who isn't quite as committed as you are, and also a family member that's asking why you're suddenly saying no to everything. Individually, none of these moments seem like a big deal, but together, they're exactly why so many people start this journey and never quite finish it. So in this video, I want to prepare you for the debt-free journey that almost nobody talks about. Not how to build a budget or which debt payoff method to use. You've probably heard all of those before. Instead, we're going to talk about the invisible obstacles that quietly pull people back into the debt before they ever reach the finish line. Because once you actually know what you're up against, you stop being surprised by it. And when you stop being surprised, you stop letting it control your decisions. Let's get into it. Number one, your social life will start working against your best interest. The first thing that you realize is that your social life doesn't pause just because your financial situation did. Think of this scenario. It's a Friday night. You've already decided that you're going to be serious this month and you're trying to stick to the plan. Then a text comes in. Hey, we're going out tonight. You in? And at that moment, it's not really about whether you can afford it. It's about whether you want to feel left out again. Because if you say yes, it's not just the dinner, it's the drinks after, the Uber, the extra spending that you didn't plan for. And if you say no, it's that feeling that you're slowly becoming the person who just doesn't do anything fun anymore. And nobody tells you how uncomfortable that feels. Most people try to solve this by isolating themselves, but that just creates burnout. The real adjustment isn't saying no to people, it's redefining how you see people. You stop defaulting to spending-based connections and start building connections that actually don't require any kind of spending. Because if your entire social life requires money, debt freedom and financial independence will always feel like loneliness. Number two, your budget will fail multiple times before it works. Here's something that surprises almost everyone. Your first real budget is going to fail. Not slightly off, but completely wrong. This is because most people build budgets assuming everything is predictable. Rent, food, bills, debt, just clean categories. But real life doesn't operate that way. You're going to end up missing a lot of categories at first. Birthdays show up, car repairs show up, subscriptions renew at random times, and suddenly your perfect plan is broken in the first couple of weeks. And this is where most people misinterpret the situation. They think they failed the budget, when in reality, the budget is doing exactly what it's actually supposed to be doing. It's revealing your current reality. A budget isn't a rule that you set once and forget. It's a mirror that gets clearer over time. The first version will be wrong. The second version will still be wrong, but it will be better. By the third or fourth, you finally start seeing the real shape of your life. And that's when progress actually starts. Number three, you'll have to pause things that feel like good parenting or being a good spouse. This is where things get emotionally uncomfortable. And a lot of people don't like talking about it because getting out of debt sometimes means pausing things that aren't necessarily wasteful. They're actually meaningful. This could be sports, activities, vacations, things that feel like normal, responsible parenting. And that creates this internal conflict because you're not just cutting expenses, you're questioning whether you're actually doing enough for your family. But here's a reality that most people avoid. You can't accelerate debt payoff while maintaining every single lifestyle expense at full speed. Something has to slow down. And this is where people either get honest or they stay stuck, because they try to protect everything at once and they end up protecting nothing in the long term. The hard truth is this: it's not about removing good things forever, it's about temporarily restructuring priorities so your financial foundation stops bleeding. Because once debt pressure is gone, those same activities become a lot easier to afford without the additional stress. Number 4, you'll start caring too much about what people think. At some point, the math stops being the hardest part and the perception becomes harder. You might downgrade a car or stop eating out as much or move somewhere that's a lot more affordable. And suddenly, you start imagining what people are thinking about you. They must be struggling. They're not doing as well as they used to. What happened to these folks? And even if nobody's actually saying these things to you, your brain is going to fill in those gaps. And this is one of the most powerful hidden traps in debt freedom. People stay financially stuck to avoid looking financially different. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is tracking your life as closely as you think they are. Most people are too focused on their own situation. The real shift happens when you stop optimizing for perception and stop optimizing for outcomes. The thing is this: you can't build financial freedom while protecting everyone else's opinion of your lifestyle. Number 5, your wife or husband may not move at the same speed. If you're in a relationship, this is where the debt-free journey either accelerates or quietly breaks down. This is because nobody really prepares you for what actually happens when one person decides to change the financial trajectory of the household, but the other person is still emotionally living in that old version of life. And it doesn't always show up as an argument. Most of the time, it shows up as a small friction. One person says, hey, we should probably cut back this month. The other says, it's not that serious. We've been working hard and we deserve it. One person sees the urgency, the other person sees restriction. And over time, those small differences start to create emotional distance around money, even if everything else in the relationship feels fine. Here's what makes this very difficult. Most people, mainly men, try to fix this with logic. They bring spreadsheets, timelines, and projections. But financial alignment doesn't come from logic. It comes from a shared emotional agreement about the future. And if that future isn't clearly defined, every spending decision becomes a negotiation instead of a team decision. Here's the solution. You don't start with the budget. You start with the vision. Not we need to pay off debt, but what kind of stress-free life are we actually trying to build? What do we want our life to feel like in 3 to 5 years? And what are we trying to never experience again financially? Because once both people emotionally agree on a destination, the budget stops feeling like restriction and it starts feeling like a coordination. But without that alignment, even the best financial plans fall apart. Number 6, you'll feel like everyone else is moving forward except you. This is one of the most dangerous emotional phases in this entire journey. Because nothing is technically wrong, but everything feels wrong. You're doing the responsible thing, you're paying down debt, you're building discipline, and you're making sacrifices. But everywhere around you, it looks like life is accelerating for everybody else. New cars, vacations, home renovations, and lifestyle upgrades that feel like you're temporarily behind. And if you're not careful, you're going to start telling yourself a story that says, everyone is progressing except me. But here's what nobody tells you. You are comparing two completely different financial systems. You're comparing someone who is financing their entire lifestyle to someone who's funding their freedom. One creates visible progress, the other creates invisible stability. And invisible stability never feels like it's rewarding in the moment. Here's a solution. You basically just need a new scoreboard. Not what does my life look like compared to others, but how much financial pressure have I removed this month? How many months of stress have I eliminated for my future? Or just how much closer am I to not needing anyone's permission to live life the way I want to live? Here's the truth. Debt freedom doesn't feel like winning every day. it feels like slowly removing pressure that other people are still normalizing. And if you don't measure the right things, you're going to quit right before the big payoff. Number 7, emergencies will test your discipline. Something will break throughout this journey. Not might, will break. And it always happens at the worst possible time. So car repair, medical bill, home issues, or just an unexpected expense that doesn't care about your budget. And here's the part that most people misunderstand. The emergency isn't necessarily the problem. The emergency is a trigger that exposes whether your system is actually stable or was just optimistic. Because if you don't have margin, every emergency is going to be stressful. But if you do have even a small buffer, that same event feels like an inconvenience instead of a disaster. Here's the issue that nobody talks about. It's the deeper issue. Most people try to become debt-free without ever building some sort of financial shock absorption. So every unexpected expense forces them to chase between staying on track or going back into debt. But that's not a plan. That's just a pressure cycle. Here's the solution. Before you focus on aggressive payoff, you need to build some sort of buffer. Just enough space so that life doesn't instantly undo your progress. Because debt freedom isn't just about how fast you move forward, it's about how well you absorb the impact without quitting. Number 8, you realize your housing may be silently controlling everything. This is the most avoided truth in personal finance because it's easier to cut subscriptions, dining, and small expenses than it is to question your living situation. But if your housing cost is high relative to your income, you don't have a budgeting issue. You have a structural constraint. And no amount of discipline fixes a structural problem. What happens instead is people try to out-budget a housing decision that was never sustainable in the first place. They'll feel like they're doing everything right, but still not making any kind of progress. And that's going to lead to a lot of frustration, burnout, and eventually just quitting. Here's the part that most people just never consider. Housing doesn't just affect your monthly payment. It affects your margin, your emergencies, your ability to invest, and most importantly, your stress level. Here's the solution. Write down one uncomfortable comparison. What would my financial life look like if I reduced my housing costs by 20 to 40%? And this is not forever, just long enough to reset the trajectory. Because sometimes the fastest way out of debt is not cutting smaller expenses, it's removing the single biggest pressure point in your entire system. Number 9, it'll actually take shorter than you expect. Almost nobody starts their debt-free journey thinking it's going to be quick. In fact, most people assume the opposite. They assume this is a 5-year plan, maybe even 10-year grind, depending on their situation. And that assumption alone changes how they behave. When you think something is going to take forever, you naturally pace yourself like nothing is urgent, and you accept your current situation as just the way it is now. But here's actually what happens in real life that a lot of people actually underestimate. They assume their income stays the same. They assume their habits stay the same. They assume their thinking stays the same. But none of those things actually stay the same. Because once you actually commit to becoming debt-free, something subtle starts to shift. You start paying attention differently. You start noticing waste differently. You start making decisions differently. And over time, that creates momentum. And you're going to end up getting a raise because you became more intentional at work. You're going to be picking up extra income opportunities because, the financial pressure makes you more resourceful. And you're simply just going to stop making the same mistakes that you used to make every month without even realizing it. And this is the part that nobody plans for. Debt freedom doesn't just come from paying things down slowly over time. It also comes from you becoming more capable over time, and that combination changes everything. So instead of taking 5 years, like most people mentally prepare for, a large percentage of people actually compress their timeline dramatically once their behavior and income both start shifting at the same time. And for a lot of people who actually truly lock in, what they expected to take several years ends up taking 12 to 18 months. Not because the debt magically disappears, but because the person paying it off is no longer the same person who actually started. And that's the part that most people miss when they build their initial plan, because they're only calculating the debt. They're not calculating the transformation. Number 10, you will become a different person. There's one final thing that nobody warns you about when you decide to become debt-free. When most people start this journey, they think the goal is pretty simple. Pay off the credit cards, the car, the student loans, and become debt-free. But somewhere along the way, something much deeper starts happening. And without even realizing it, you begin changing the way you think. You stop asking, can I afford this? And you start asking, is this even worth it? That level of questioning changes everything, because debt isn't usually created in just one big decision. It's created through hundreds of small decisions that feel harmless in the moment. And becoming debt-free happens in the exact same way. Hundreds of better decisions, one after another, day after day, month after month. At first, those decisions feel difficult because you have to force yourself to make them. But eventually, the things that once feel like sacrifice simply become normal. And here's the part that I just hope everyone gets. The habits that make someone debt-free are the exact same habits that build wealth. Discipline, patience, delayed gratification, and long-term thinking. You're not just learning how to get out of debt, you're becoming the kind of person who naturally builds financial independence. So think about that for a second. The version of you that's watching this video today and the version of you that's debt-free will not be the same person. The debt-free version of you doesn't finance things because they're impatient. They don't buy things to impress people that they barely know. And they don't confuse looking wealthy with actually becoming wealthy. They have peace, margin, and options. And that's the biggest reward of this entire journey, because money doesn't actually buy freedom. Control does. The ability to decide where you work, how much time you spend with your family, whether you stay in a job that you hate because you have to or leave because you can. And then one day, you'll look back at this season of sacrifices, the skipped dinners, the smaller house, the older car, the extra shifts, the weekends that looked a lot different than everybody else's. And you realize none of those things were the cost. They were actually the investment, because they purchased something that most people spend their entire lives chasing: freedom. So those are the 10. Now, I'm sure there are more, but those are the main ones. Look, if you're in the middle of this journey right now, I want you to understand something clearly. Nothing that you're experiencing is unusual. The social pressure, the frustration with timing, the temptation to quit, all of it is part of the process. But so is the outcome if you stay in it long enough. Most people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they weren't prepared for what it actually feels like to do it. Now you are. And if you enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel and let others know in the comments which of these obstacles you're currently dealing with. Because the moment that you can name that obstacle clearly, you stop letting it control the outcome.